This was the tour that broke McCafferty. 1 month after signing with Triple Crown Records, McCafferty embarked on a full US tour featuring Moose Blood and indie rock outfit Lydia. The tour kicked off on March 14th, 2018, which meant McCafferty would be releasing their second LP Yarn during tour. At the time, it seemed like things couldn't get better for McCafferty. A new record label, a new album, touring with one of the bigger bands in their scene, but a couple weeks into tour, things went south. Warning, everything from this point on is extremely graphic. Hey everybody, this is going to be a long, painful email that's going to frustrate a lot of people, but needs to be done sooner than later. I have quickly discovered that I am not meant to be a musician. The life of touring and living on the road is not designed for me. I suffer from extreme OCD, paranoia, anger issues, and emotional instability. When I am out on the road, tour amplifies all of these things. Now, I understand what these actions will do. I understand that we will be fired from APA and no longer work with Synergy/Triple Crown and close all doors to any future in this business. And that's what needs to happen for my mental health. It's a very difficult decision, but I must take care of myself. I want to apologize to my band and let them know how truly sorry I am for my inability to transition into a professional musician. It isn't for me. I've lost all love of music, and my passion for McCafferty has died with the increasing mental stress I experience from it. I'm so sorry to everyone, but I cannot continue to work in the music industry, and I want to apologize for wasting your time. We will 100% be completing the Moose Blood tour, but that will be it. Sincerely, Nick. Directly after this email, it was announced McCafferty would be dropping off the remainder of the Moose Blood tour. We are sad to announce that McCafferty will be dropping off the remainder of Moose Blood's spring tour in order to seek help for mental health. The tour has been fantastic and it has been great to meet so many of you, but it has taken a toll on Nick's health and life. We would like to apologize to Moose Blood in addition to any fans coming to these shows. We wish we could see you and share our music with you. Yarn, our new album, just came out 2 weeks ago. If you haven't listened to it, please do. If you have listened to it, thank you. The announcement was met with a mixed response among fans. Some were happy that Nick was taking his mental health seriously, and others were just upset. But even if McCafferty would have had full support from their fans, the bridges Nick burned in the process of making his decision were irreparable, at least from a business standpoint. Therefore, they were completely on their own after dropping off the Moose Blood tour. No label, no management, nothing. It was all thrown away by Nick, and his bandmates helplessly watched. But this behavior isn't anything new for Nick. He may say he loves his friends, family, and bandmates, but his actions say otherwise, based on the way he makes decisions, only acting in ways that will benefit him, and telling you whatever you want to hear to get his way. These next two testimonies really hammer in who Nick is as a person. They're from the early parts of Nick's life and were purposely saved for last. This is why. Both testimonies are from Nick's past love interests, specifically during his youth. The first being Sarah, a former love interest of Nick's from 2011 to 2012, and Jessica, who was Nick's first girlfriend when he was 15. Sarah worked at a store called The Exchange, and apparently when he was dating his first girlfriend Jessica, he'd go in there to flirt with Sarah, and bring Jessica with him to do so. According to Sarah, Nick also did this with Lindsay, the woman who ended up becoming his first wife. We're going to take a look at Sarah and Jessica's testimonies and then get back to the McCafferty timeline, but it's important you hear these two specifically early on, because they provide a look into why things played out the way they did. It makes you realize the events that transpired this year were going to happen no matter what. It wasn't if, it was when. This is Sarah's testimony. Okay, so back in winter of 2011, I was working at The Exchange in Medina, and Nick and his girlfriend at the time would come in pretty frequently. Then Nick just started popping in, sometimes a couple times a day. I never thought anything of it. We would just talk about movies or games, and then he would buy something or leave. Then he added me on Facebook and started messaging me about how his relationship was not working out, compared me to Ramona Flowers and him to Scott Pilgrim. LOL, what a red flag even then, and continued to try to flirt with with me and talk really badly about blank. At the time, I just thought he had a crush and we had common interests, so I started hanging out with him and his friend blank sometimes. Well, then it got really weird. He would try to start fooling around with me and then just stop and leave, which is fine, except he started calling me a slut and just being really weird about me. We would go out sometimes and he would leave me places with no ride in the cold weather and just drive off and laugh about it. He started coming into my job and essentially harassing me. I was getting really confused and just started putting distance between us. Then he shows up at my house with his guitar and plays me a song and gets ready and leaves for work. I was kind of confused, but I figured he was just trying to make amends with me or something. Find out the same day, or within the same few days, he played the same song for Lindsay to ask her out. I was just really confused at that point and stopped communication. He continued to come into the exchange and stare at me or make it a point to say something to me with Lindsay there. Then one night while I was working on backstock, I got texts from people saying they heard I was HIV positive. Multiple people who were my friends and then complete strangers. I was mortified at that point and had a phone with no internet access, so I had to wait to get home to see what was being posted about me. Apparently, Nick was telling everyone that I was HIV positive and a slut. I removed him from Facebook and tried to explain to my friends that it wasn't true and to squash the rumors because it was getting out of hand. That's just not cool to spread information like that if it is true, because it's wrong, and also stigmatizing someone with an illness is also wrong. I tried to put it behind me and ignore him as best as I could until I started dating this boy blank. They would all play Xbox Live together and Nick found out he was dating me. He would constantly tell blank things like, "Oh, you're dating that slut with AIDS now," and make comments about us, my sex life, and our relationship, to the point where people stopped involving him and blank was really upset. He continued to spread these rumors or say horrible things about me for years. According to Nick's ex-wife Lindsay, Nick is a fan of privacy, but as evidenced by numerous testimonies, he doesn't hold himself to the same standard he holds others. Nick is willing to hold himself to a certain standard or a way of behaving just long enough, so he can get what he wants. Then he returns to his natural state. This manipulation tactic was prevalent in Nick's first romantic relationship with a girl named Jessica during their freshman year of high school. This is the single most disturbing testimony of them all, because it really hits you after you process the fact that Nick was 14 to 15 during all of this, because it details Nick Hartkop's first ever romantic relationship. My name is Jess, and I was Nick Hartkop's first girlfriend. We started dating in high school, I was 14, and we were freshmen. Nick was my first boyfriend and first intimate relationship, and I was his first girlfriend and intimate relationship as well. Nick has always been a troubled individual. Up until recently, I believed most of Nick's struggles were due to his mental health. In high school, he frequently self-harmed and talked about suicide. As the relationship progressed, the threats of suicide got worse. There were times when I wanted to leave the relationship. When I brought up ending the relationship, he said if I left, he would kill himself. As a teenager, I was terrified of being responsible for someone else's life and chose to stay, thinking and hoping I was going to be able to help someone. The longer I stayed, the more I felt trapped in a situation I didn't feel like I could leave. The emotional and mental abuse started roughly less than a year after we were dating. He would poke and prod at my side saying I need to lose weight. Eventually he did it so constantly it started to hurt. At one point he told me, "You have a really pretty face, but it doesn't match your body." I was 5'7" and 140 pounds. It destroyed my confidence and effectively did what he wanted to. I felt like I could never leave. I stopped eating and was in constant pains from his physical jabs and hunger pains. As the abuse escalated, Nick started to isolate me as well. He would ask me who every male friend on social media was. Even if I told him they were family, he would be incredibly upset. He would say I must not love him if I feel the need to have other male friends, even though the only friends I was allowed to have were his, who were all male and I was only allowed to see while under his supervision. Eventually he used self-harm threats to the point where I felt the only way to make him happy was to delete my social media. He monitored my texts and phone usage. For 3 months, he told me that my best friend at the time was a bad influence on me and that he wanted me to be a nice girl. He said that because my best friend started to be more comfortable with her gender identity. She had a girlfriend for a brief moment, and once the relationship ended, she expressed interest in dating men. Nick told me the next time I was going to see her, I had to tell her that she was a bi piece of shit or he would kill himself. He'd mentioned suicide for months, but at that moment, I felt personally responsible for ending the life of someone and thought this would be the easiest solution. As I'm writing this, I currently have the help of said friend again, and she is filling in the parts that I am unable to remember. Nick's abuse has run incredibly deep and still affects aspects of my life to this day. Once I was isolated from my friends, the only people I had to turn to were his closest friends. I did not feel comfortable sharing any of my feelings with them and started to keep everything to myself. Nick and I started writing notes to each other in between classes detailing all of the things we wanted to try when we were intimate. His parents found the notes, and after his dad called me a whore, we were no longer allowed to see each other. The source of contention between he and his parents led to more abuse in the relationship, and it led to him making me believe I could now no longer be intimate with another person without being a slut or a whore. When the physical part of our relationship started, he was a perfect gentleman, but as time went on and I no longer wanted to participate in said acts, he would beg and plead and throw fits and say, "It will only take me a minute." He would act very sweet and caring and tell me he wouldn't hurt me, but during intimacy, when I would ask him to stop, he would keep going until he was satisfied. Towards the end of our relationship, I knew Nick was unhappy. We would make frequent trips to a store in town where I knew he was going to see another girl he liked. He would suddenly start talking about other girls who were interested in him. He would use these things with the fact that I'd been intimate with him and was now a whore to keep me in my place, so to speak. After multiple years of being told I wasn't good enough for anybody, I was too fat for another guy to want me, I'd been intimate with him, so now I would be a whore if I was ever with anyone else, and the never-ending barrage of physical jabs at my sides and face, I decided enough was enough. I was immature and felt that I could never leave the relationship safely, so I did the only thing Nick ever told me he would leave me for: cheating. I chose to go on a date with a coworker, and when I told Nick about it in the parking lot of the school inside his car, he went into a rage. He grabbed my arms and slammed me against his car window. I hit my head multiple times and had visible bruise marks in the shape of fingers around my arms for quite some time. He then opened his car door, pushed me out onto the concrete, and drove away. I've only seen Nick once after that event. It was after he had formed McCafferty and sent me an apology email about 7 years after everything happened. He seemed very genuine and sincere and apologized for all of his actions, saying he was married and working on himself. I've read all of the testimonies that have come out and realized that apology was a front. He was scared of his public image declining and apologized to me so I wouldn't speak out against him. I refuse to be the only person who didn't speak out against the abuse so many people have suffered because of him. I still continue to suffer the effects of his abuse. I struggle with myself, and I find that I apologize constantly. I do that because it was the only coping mechanism I had with Nick. As Lindsay previously said, nothing comes from making him unhappy. Nick has been an abuser since he was 15. He has always been a master manipulator and will tell anyone anything to get his way. It's only when you don't that you see who Nick truly is. A monster of a person. He thrives on other people bending to his will and does not care what the consequences of his actions are. He uses serious threats and manic behavior to get what he wants from people. I hope that telling my small part of the story has helped someone. Please realize that he is not someone to look up to. He is an abuser whose pattern of behavior has only escalated over the years and doesn't show any sign of stopping. Nick continued to manipulate me well after I should have known better, and for that, and for every word I have ever said in his defense, I'm sorry. Thank you all for speaking out and making a few of us realize we are not alone. After dropping off the Moose Blood tour, McCafferty made their way home. Confused fans didn't know whether or not McCafferty was breaking up again. It would be logical to assume so given the circumstances, but there was no official word on the state of the group. And considering McCafferty's history of on again, off again, people weren't sure what to think. Therefore, fans were very confused when Nick announced Sum of All Fears on June 25th. It was a compilation album featuring tracks from previous EPs that were not already on streaming services. It dropped June 28, 2018, and was met with full support from their fan base. But everyone was still unsure about the future of McCafferty. On August 11, 2018, McCafferty announced their official breakup. They were ending things permanently. For real this time. They blessed their fans with a parting gift called Clementine, an acoustic EP meant to be the last McCafferty release ever. Nick made a lengthy Facebook post about how it was really over this time. Once you read one of Nick's posts, you've read them all, because his posts are often melodramatic and contain pointless tangents about topics he'll have the exact opposite opinion on the following month. Here's a snippet from the post. We're not going to read it all because it's so much of the same, but here we go. I hope everyone has been having a wonderful August and is looking forward to the fall. I wanted to make a post to let everyone know that McCafferty is being ended permanently. Yes, for real this time. I wish I had the right words to say as a farewell, but goodbyes have never been my strong suit. To anybody who is a writer, artist, or creator of any type, you know that art seeks us out. It is something that runs through our blood, and it's almost like a demon that possesses us when it wants to talk. When art floods us, we can feel it in our chests and our hearts, and it pulls us to create. I have tried to quit many times before, but I felt that the story I wanted to tell hadn't been completed yet. Like many who connect to music, I've never really felt like I belong. I have struggled with an identity and transitioning my entire life, and have always felt very out of place. McCafferty has always been a place that I have felt at home because it lets me be myself. It has allowed me to express myself in ways that I never thought possible, and to create art I never thought I could. After announcing their permanent breakup, McCafferty got back together, because December 2018, they released Yarn Commentary, where they spoke at length about their record Yarn. And during parts where their bassist Chris would have talked, they used a text-to-speech app. And that was the biggest change for McCafferty going forward. Following their 2018 breakup, their bassist Chris Jakin decided not to return, but Nick's wife Emily filled his shoes, forming the new McCafferty lineup. This kicks off the House with No Doorbell era for McCafferty. On March 15th, 2019, it was announced that McCafferty was finished with their brand new album. We are officially done with the new record, The House with No Doorbell. We've been pulling about 12-hour days for the last week, and I'm so proud of this album. Its energy, its meaning, and I think these are the best songs we've ever made. Thank you all for listening and for your kindness. We're aiming for a vinyl release this fall, and I'm so proud that Wes Easterly is going to be mixing and mastering the entire album. No one understands McCafferty better, and I'm so thankful for his talent. So much love and gratitude your way, and we welcome you to the House with No Doorbell. Their subreddit was ecstatic about the news, and McCafferty was once again on an upward trajectory. After The House with No Doorbell came out, Nick wanted to try touring again.
I didn't like touring the last time because it wasn't what I wanted. There were a lot of parts to it that just didn't fit my personality and my morals and just who I am as a person. The big thing is our tour, November 18th through 24th on the East Coast. We're excited to announce this. It's a co-headliner with Guardin. Thank you so much for everything, and we love you guys.
Hey everybody, Nick Hartkop here. So I had just gotten word that Guardin and the Breathing Backwards and Carousel Kings have all collectively decided to work with the venues to continue to hold the tour without McCafferty being involved.
Also, he didn't cancel the tour. He had his wife go on his Instagram account and post a whole story about how tour was canceled, and he just ghosted for like 2 weeks. And then they tried to pin it on me for why they, well, partially on me for why they canceled. It was ridiculous. And I think it was like a week or two before.
This is where things start to get out of hand very quickly. After posting the first video in the McCafferty Rise and Fall series, a man named Nick contacted me. Thankfully not Nick Hartkop, but a man named Nick Kerr, who makes emo rap under the name Guardin. We hopped on a phone call and he gave me an exclusive testimony for the video. He details his experience working with Nick and Emily to plan the tour, McCafferty bailing last minute, and everything that ensued. The call is over 2 hours long, so it's very much edited for brevity, but you'll still get the idea.
They wanted all of us to just drop the tour so it didn't look as bad because they're notorious for doing this shit. Nick is. I send a few emails back and forth with the promoters, and they're like, that's not true. I was like, so tour's still a go? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, fuck yeah. As soon as I started posting stuff, Emily didn't know what the fuck to do. She like kind of tried to like pin it on me, like, oh, like I'm so confused. I don't know what's going on. Like Guardin's doing all this. And it's like, bro, shut up. There was one day where he's like, yeah, like I've just bought a couple ounces. I'm rolling 35 joints today. And I was like, what the fuck? Why? And then by the next day, he's like, yeah, I'm down to 10 joints. And I was like, you smoked 25 joints in a day? But yeah, so he would just like, every couple of days, it was just short conversations. He'd be like, hey man, hope you're doing good. Just wanted to see if you're all right. I was like, yep, and he'd always like check in on me, and then the conversation would always lead to like, oh, something with Diva. He had a song called Stop. And he said, this is it, man. I only have like 1 minute something done. Imagine this in a full studio. And it was like the most offensive song you could ever think about. Like, it was bad. He said, I was going to work in a line about wearing smoked perp and Lil Pump's skin, but it won't look right because I'm straight white. I was like, I think it could definitely get streams. I just worry that some of it will get you canceled real quick, especially with how cancel culture is on the rise. He was like, it's such a slim chance, but I think I can commit and act it out, and make an EP that gets me co-signed by Smoke Perp or someone, and then I can make like $2 million and bail forever from everyone. I think once Wes does it with me, it'll get 2 million plays easy. 3 hours later, he goes, bro, I did it. I wrote the song that's going to make me a millionaire, I swear to God. I have the demo. It's unreal. I'm so blessed. It's the EP opener. That previous song will probably be song 2. Oh, all of these texts that he's sending were first day at tour too. Because all he ever talked about was, oh yeah, like, I can't wait until like our Spotify numbers are like close to yours. And then this is where shit starts getting weird. So, because we had a phone call at one point where he was talking about like, how did you get verified on Instagram? And I was like, I don't know. My manager like sorted that. So, could you like get me in touch with your manager? And as soon as I like hit my manager up about it, he's like, no. Everybody in the music industry fucking hates McCafferty. So this is where it gets fucking insane. So that was 9:30 p.m. on the 30th of December. So this is, yeah, like the whole day had passed, and then like at 5 in the morning in Japan, I get this text where he goes, your manager better be careful with his perception of mental health. I'll make it known he didn't take it as lightly as you for mental health. That's such a douchey thing to say. I know you're an e-boy, but I don't care about how highly you think of yourself in your face of music. You are known as a sexual misogynistic predator, and you use Marissa to protect you, and everyone knows that. Once she's gone, you're going to get canceled. Protect yourself and tell your manager I'll have a nice convo with my people about his viewpoint on mental health and not taking it as lightly as you. You know who I am and what I do. Good luck, Nick. So I texted back, I go, saw this coming from a mile away, and now you know why I distanced myself from talking to you. Also, you're about the only one who sees me as that, so go ahead and cancel me. I've been nothing but a good friend to you. But yeah, that's my friendship with Nicholas Hartkop.
Dude, so like was December 31st pretty much your last point of contact with that man?
Yeah, it's like the last time we talked, other than like a week later him sending that Hobo Johnson thing to me on Snapchat.
After the Guardin tour debacle, things stayed quiet. But late January of this year, Nick took to social media to air his grievances with an artist named Hobo Johnson. Long story short, a girl falsely accused Frank, aka Hobo Johnson, of rape. Nick immediately accepted these accusations as fact and went off on social media. At Hobo Johnson, you suck, man. You are a bigger rip of TFB than me, and you are a rapist. Cancel at Hobo Johnson. He is a rapist who willingly gave herpes to someone and took his condom off halfway through to rape them. Never forget TFB toured with them and Brand New before, but I couldn't because I said the F-bomb in the past. End this dude's career. I'm sick of the scene and rapists winning. Not even 2 days after this, Evan posts his statement about Nick and McCafferty online. And that brings us full circle. We're now in modern day. I wish there was a happy ending or resolution to cap everything off nicely, but there's not. At this point in time, no one knows for sure where Nick is or what he's doing, and it seems unlikely he's going to make positive changes anytime soon. But if I had to guess, I think he'll be back. But I think he'll have a hard time gaining public support from anyone in any music community. Thank you for watching.